You're lying in bed. It's 2 a.m. and your brain is doing the thing again. It's replaying a conversation you had 6 hours ago. Not even a bad conversation, just a normal one. But your mind has decided to edit it, to rewrite it, to show you the version where you said the wrong thing, the version where they judged you, the version where everything falls apart because of one sentence you can barely remember saying. And then, before that thought even finishes, a new one arrives. What about that deadline next week? What if you're not ready? What if you've been doing it all wrong and no one's told you? Then another, and another. Each thought grabs the next one's hand and pulls it in. You're not solving anything. You know you're not solving anything. This isn't productive thinking. This is your mind eating itself. This has a name. Psychologists call it rumination. And it's one of the most common and most destructive mental habits a human being can have. But here's what most people don't know, and this is what today's video is really about. 2,500 years ago, a teacher in ancient India gave a name to this exact process. He mapped how it works, why it works, and, crucially, he laid out 5 specific methods for stopping it. Not vague advice, not just think positive. 5 concrete techniques, in order of escalation, like a toolkit. His name was the Buddha, and his diagnosis of your overthinking is so precise. Modern neuroscience is only now catching up to it. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you isn't mysticism. It's the most practical psychology you've never heard of. Let me be clear about what we're dealing with. This isn't a quirk, it's an epidemic. Research by psychologist Susan Nolan Hoeksema at the University of Michigan, based on interviews with roughly 1,300 people, found that 73% of adults aged 25 to 35 chronically overthink. Let that number land. Nearly 3 out of 4 young adults are stuck in repetitive thought loops on a regular basis. And while that study was conducted in the early 2000s, there's no evidence the problem has gotten smaller. If anything, in the age of smartphones and constant connectivity, it's likely gotten worse. A 2025 industry counseling report from One-to-One Help, an employee assistance platform, found that overthinking and rumination was the single most common cognitive complaint among people seeking mental health support, affecting 24% of all individuals, more common than stress on its own, more common than workplace issues, and a peer-reviewed 3-year cohort study published in the Journal of Affective Disorders, tracking 1,972 adults, found that repetitive negative thinking, the clinical term for what you and I call overthinking, predicted the relapse and persistence of both depression and anxiety disorders, not just correlated with them, predicted them. So overthinking isn't just annoying. It isn't something you grow out of. It's a mechanism that actively produces mental illness over time. And here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. Your brain is doing this on purpose. Not to torture you, but because it thinks it's helping. That's what makes this so hard to stop. And that's why I need to show you what's happening under the hood, before any solution makes sense. Neuroscience has a name for the brain system responsible for overthinking. It's called the default mode network, the DMN. The DMN is a set of brain regions that become most active when you are not focused on the outside world. When you're daydreaming, when you're remembering the past, when you're imagining the future, when you're thinking about yourself. Notice that list: past, future, self. That's the holy trinity of overthinking. The DMN isn't evil, it's essential. It helps you plan, reflect, empathize, and construct a sense of identity. Without it, You couldn't imagine tomorrow or learn from yesterday. But here's the problem. In people who ruminate, the DMN becomes hyperactive. It doesn't just turn on during rest, it stays on. Research suggests it effectively outcompetes other brain networks for metabolic resources, keeping you locked in self-referential processing even when you're trying to focus on something else. A meta-analysis of 14 fMRI studies, published in Neuroimage in 2020, found that rumination is specifically correlated with overactivity in the DMN's core regions and the dorsal medial prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain most associated with self-referential thinking. And here's the key finding. Research by Hamilton and colleagues, published in Biological Psychiatry in 2015, showed that this hyperconnectivity predicted the severity of rumination even when researchers controlled for how depressed someone was. Meaning, the overthinking isn't just a symptom of feeling bad, it's a separate engine. It can run on its own. Your DMN, when it gets stuck in a loop, becomes what you might call a neurological cage. The more you think about yourself, the more the network activates. The more the network activates, the more you think about yourself. It's a feedback loop with no built-in off switch. Now, and this is the turn I want you to pay attention to. The Buddha described this exact process 2,500 years before the first fMRI scanner was ever built, and he used a word for it that has no clean English translation, but it might be the most important word you learned today. The word is Papañca. It comes from the Pali language, and it's usually translated as conceptual proliferation. But that translation is too polite. A better translation might be the mind's compulsive tendency to generate, multiply, and tangle itself in its own concepts until reality is completely obscured. The Buddha's most detailed teaching on Papañca comes from the Vitakkasanthana Sutta, that's Sutta 18 of the Majjhima Nikaya, the middle-length discourses. It's nicknamed the Honey Ball Discourse, because when the monk Ananda first heard it, he said it was the most delectable teaching he'd ever encountered. And here's what the teaching maps out. It's a chain reaction. It goes like this. A sense experience occurs. You see something, hear something, feel something. That contact produces a feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. That feeling triggers perception. Your mind labels the experience, and perception triggers thinking. Now here's where it gets dangerous. The Buddha says, what you think about, you proliferate. What you proliferate, you become lost in. That's Papañca. It's the moment where one thought becomes 10, 10 become 100, and you're no longer thinking about what actually happened. You're lost in a self-generated mental universe that feels completely real, but is almost entirely fabricated. And the Buddha identified 3 root forces that drive Papañca, 3 engines of proliferation. The first is tanha, craving, the mind that wants. If only I had said the right thing. If only I were smarter, richer, better. The second is mana, conceit, not arrogance, but the constant measurement of self against others. Am I good enough? Am I better than them? Am I worse? Every comparison is fuel for proliferation. The third is ditti, views, fixed opinions, rigid beliefs about how things should be. This isn't fair. Things shouldn't be this way. I deserve better. The mind grabs onto a position and builds an entire architecture of suffering around it. Craving, comparison, fixed views, 3 engines, all running simultaneously, all producing more thoughts, which produce more thoughts, which produce more thoughts. Now compare this to what neuroscience tells us about the DMN. The default mode network is most active during self-referential thinking, social comparison, and narrative construction about past and future events. It's literally the neural substrate of tanha, mana, and ditthi. The Buddha didn't have brain scanners, but he had something arguably better: thousands of hours of rigorous, systematic observation of his own mind. And what he found maps onto cutting-edge neuroscience with startling precision. But here's the critical question. If the Buddha diagnosed the problem this precisely, did he also prescribe a cure? He did. And it's not what you think. Before I give you the Buddha's solution, I need to tell you why. The most common advice about overthinking is wrong. Just stop thinking about it. You're in your head too much. Just relax. Don't worry about things you can't control. You've heard all of this. You've probably said it to yourself, and it doesn't work. Not because you're weak, but because of how your brain is wired. This is called the ironic process theory, and it was demonstrated by social psychologist Daniel Wegner in a 1987 study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. When you try to suppress a thought, the very act of monitoring whether you've succeeded keeps the thought alive. Trying not to think about something requires thinking about the thing you're trying not to think about. The Buddha understood this. In the Vitakkasanthana Sutta, Sutta 20 of the Majjhima Nikaya, he explicitly addresses monks who are pursuing the higher mind and getting overwhelmed by unwanted thoughts. And his first instruction is not stop thinking. His approach is far more sophisticated. He gives 5 methods, in order, each one escalating in intensity. You try the first. If it doesn't work, you move to the second, then the third, and so on. Think of it as a 5-stage emergency protocol for your mind. And here's why this is worth your attention. The promise at the end of the sutta is extraordinary. The Buddha says that a person who masters these 5 methods will think whatever thought they wish to think, and will not think any thought they do not wish to think. Not suppression. Mastery. Let me walk you through all 5. Quick pause. If you're finding this useful, hit subscribe. This channel takes the deepest ideas in philosophy and applies them to the problems you actually deal with. I drop new videos weekly. Now, back to the 5 methods. These come directly from the Vitakkasanthana Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 20. I'm going to give you each one with the Buddha's original metaphor, then translate it into something you can use tonight. Method 1. Replace the thought. The Buddha says, when an unwholesome thought arises, give attention to a different thought connected with what is wholesome. His metaphor, a skilled carpenter removes a coarse peg by driving in a fine one. In practice, you don't fight the thought, you redirect. If you're spiraling about a mistake you made at work, you deliberately shift your attention to something constructive. Not by pretending the problem doesn't exist, but by choosing a more useful mental object. This could be a problem you can actually solve, a memory that grounds you, or even a simple sensory anchor like the feeling of your feet on the floor. This isn't distraction. Distraction is unconscious avoidance. This is deliberate substitution. You're choosing what occupies your mind instead of letting the default mode network choose for you. Method 2. Examine the danger. The Buddha says, examine the danger in those thoughts. See them as low, as suffering producing, as leading to harm. His metaphor, a young person who loves beauty and style would be horrified and disgusted if a dead snake were hung around the neck. In practice, you look clearly at what overthinking actually costs you. Not in theory, in your life. How many hours have you lost? How much sleep? How many conversations have you been physically present for, but mentally absent from? How many decisions have you paralyzed yourself out of making? You're not judging yourself. You're seeing the consequences with clarity. The goal is to make the unconscious cost conscious. When you truly see what rumination takes from you, the mind loosens its grip naturally. Method 3. Starve the thought of attention. The Buddha says, do not give attention to those thoughts. Simply turn away from them. His metaphor, a person who doesn't want to see something simply closes their eyes or looks away. In practice, this is the art of non-engagement. A thought arises. You see it, and you choose not to follow it, not by force, but by withdrawal of interest. This is the closest to what modern mindfulness teaches, noting a thought as just a thought and letting it pass without elaboration. The key insight is that thoughts require your participation to proliferate. A thought you don't engage with has no fuel. It dies on its own. Method 4. Slow the thought formation. The Buddha says, give attention to stilling the thought formation of those thoughts. His metaphor, a person walking fast asks themselves, why am I walking fast? Then they slow to a normal walk. Then they stand still. Then they sit. Then they lie down. Each posture is more tranquil than the last. In practice, this is deceleration. You notice you're spiraling and you deliberately slow down. You might slow your breathing. You might physically change your posture. Sit down if you're pacing. Lie down if you're sitting. You might bring attention to the body instead of the mind. What's brilliant about this method is that it treats overthinking as having momentum, physical, energetic momentum, and you counter momentum not by slamming on the brakes, but by gradually reducing speed. This maps directly onto what neuroscience calls top-down regulation, using the prefrontal cortex to gradually dial down the activity of the DMN. Method 5. Crush the thought with determination. The Buddha says, with teeth clenched and tongue pressed against the palate, beat down, constrain, and crush the mind with the mind. His metaphor, a strong person seizing a weaker person by the head and shoulders, holding them down by force. In practice, this is the emergency brake. The Buddha is realistic enough to acknowledge that sometimes, not often, but sometimes, raw determination is what's required. You look at the thought and you say, with full force of will, no, not now. I am not going down this road. This is not the first tool you reach for. It's the fifth. It's the last resort. And the fact that the Buddha puts it last tells you something important. He knew that willpower alone isn't sustainable, but he also knew that there are moments when nothing else will do. Now, you might have noticed something about those 5 methods. They don't all work the same way. The first is redirection. The second is investigation. The third is withdrawal. The fourth is deceleration. The fifth is force. But underneath all of them is a single prerequisite. You have to see what's happening before you can do anything about it. Every single method begins with recognition. You can't replace a thought you haven't noticed. You can't examine the danger of a pattern you're unconscious of. You can't withdraw attention from something you don't know you're attending to. This is why the Buddha placed mindfulness, sati, at the foundation of his entire system. Not because mindfulness is the cure, but because mindfulness is what makes the cure possible. And here's where neuroscience confirms something profound. Studies consistently show that meditation, particularly focused attention meditation, reduces activity in the default mode network, the very network that drives rumination. A landmark 2011 study by Brewer and colleagues at Yale University, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, found that experienced meditators showed significantly reduced DMN activity during meditation. But here's the key finding. They also showed altered DMN activity at rest. The practice didn't just help during meditation, it changed the baseline. A follow-up study published in Cognitive, Affective, and Behavioral Neuroscience confirmed that meditation reduces DMN activity beyond what's observed during other effortful cognitive tasks. Meditation isn't just doing something instead of ruminating. It's doing something that specifically targets the neural engine of rumination. The Buddha's teaching, stripped of metaphor, is this: your mind has a built-in tendency to proliferate. You cannot eliminate that tendency, but you can develop a trained awareness that sees it arising, understands its mechanics, and intervenes before the cascade runs away with you. Not suppression, not avoidance, recognition and skillful response. That's the difference between someone who overthinks and someone who used to overthink. I want to come back to something I mentioned earlier. The sutta where the Buddha teaches Papañca is called the honey ball discourse. And I think the name matters. A ball of honey is sweet, irresistible. You reach for it without thinking. That's exactly how overthinking works. It feels productive. It feels like you're doing something important. You're analyzing, you're preparing, you're being responsible, but you're not. You're stuck. You're chewing on honey that has long since lost its sweetness, unable to let go because the motion of chewing has become its own reward. The Buddha's genius was seeing through the sweetness to the trap underneath. And his gift to us, to you, right now, 25 centuries later, was not just a warning. It was a toolkit. 5 methods in order, tested by thousands of practitioners across millennia, and now validated by the same neuroscience that discovered the default mode network. I'm not going to end this video with just meditate more. That's lazy advice and you deserve better. Here's what I want you to do. Tonight. Not next week. When you catch yourself in a thought loop, and you will, try method 1 first. Name the thought, then deliberately choose a different one. Not a positive thought. An engaged thought. Something that requires your participation rather than your surrender. If method 1 doesn't hold, try method 3. Note the thought, label it. This is Papañca, if you want to use the real word, and withdraw your attention, not by fighting, by disinterest. The thought needs your fuel to survive. Stop providing it, and if you want to go deeper, start a daily practice. Even 5 minutes. Sit, breathe. Watch your thoughts arise without following them. You're training the skill that makes all 5 methods possible. The ability to see your own mind in real time. You won't master this tonight. You won't master it this month. The Buddha himself said, "This is the higher training of the mind." But the difference between today and tomorrow can be the difference between a mind that drags you through a thought loop for 2 hours and a mind that catches the loop at minute 3. That's not enlightenment. That's an hour and 57 minutes of your life back. And over a lifetime, that adds up to something extraordinary. If this changed how you think about overthinking, subscribe to the Philosophical Reframe. Every week, we take ancient philosophy and make it solve the problems that actually keep you up at night. Drop a comment telling me which of the 5 methods you're going to try first. I read every single one. And if someone you know is a chronic overthinker, and statistically you know several, send them this video. It might be the most useful thing you've ever forwarded. I'll see you in the next one.